Some of you aren't tired. You're replaying. Not the highlight reel, but the other reel. The one that shows up when it's quiet. When you're all alone or when you're in the shower. When you're standing in front of the mirror and nobody's clapping. You don't regret when you're publicly. You regret who you were privately. Some of you thought you'd be further by now. You think you missed it. You think one decision rerouted your whole destiny. That's regret. See, regret doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't shout. It settles in. And you've been introducing yourself by everything that went wrong. Regret says, if I hadn't done that, I'd be different. But what if you're not behind? What if God was never surprised by your detour? What if the thing you wish you never happened is the very thing that built the version of you standing here right now? See, you're embarrassed by your scars, but heaven isn't. You've asked God to erase what he intends to use. When Moses stood before God and asked, "Who do I say sent me?" He wasn't standing there polished or confident. He was standing there with a past. A murderer, a fugitive, a man who ran from the very people he was now called to face. A man who tried to disqualify himself before anyone else could. And God didn't just give him a resume. He didn't list qualifications. He said, I am. Tell him I am sent you. And in the book of Exodus, that moment wasn't about Moses' confidence. It was about God's constancy. Because I am means I wasn't confused about you. I wasn't thrown off by your weakness or adjusting to the plan. I factored it in. And when I am speaks over your life, regret loses its authority. See, some of you have been introducing yourself as I was. I was addicted. I was reckless. I was bitter. I was the one who messed it up. I was. You keep thinking God needs the version of you that never failed, that never fell, that never broke anything. But hear me. God doesn't send the version of you that never lived. He sends the version of you that survived. See, some of you think your story disqualifies you, but your story is the only reason you're qualified. You think your past is a prison, but God sees it as a passport, and every stamp in your story is evidence that grace carried you. You're not sent because you got it right. You're sent because he brought you through. And tonight, today, this morning or this afternoon, it's time to introduce yourself differently. It's time to introduce yourself as I am. Not because you're flawless. Not because the past disappeared. But because the great I am was never uncertain. And here's the part that'll stretch you. You're not just healed or forgiven. You're sent. And sent doesn't mean you feel ready. It means ready wasn't the requirement. Sent doesn't mean the past is erased. It means the past no longer defines direction. Sent doesn't mean it'll be easy. It means obedience matters more than comfort. You're sent back into the very places you thought disqualified you. Sent back into the family you thought you ruined. Sent back into the workplace you regret taking. Sent back into the rooms where your scars speak louder than your resume. Not in spite of them, but because of what they built in you. You see, regret looks backward, but sent looks forward. Regret says, I missed it. Sent says, God factored it in. Regret kept you small. I am makes you steady. And sent makes you dangerous. Not reckless or arrogant. Dangerous to fear. Dangerous to shame. Dangerous to the version of you that thought it was over. Because you're not an accident. You're not behind. And you're not disqualified. So if you've been living introduced by regret, right now, introduce yourself differently. I am sent. You don't need permission anymore.